Hello, and welcome to the Grand Cinema Hotel, a podcast hosted by two friends who love cinema. I'm Gus, and I'm joined by my co-host Alvaro. Tonight, you will be staying in room 146, Bodies, 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 the third film and English debut from director Helena Rain. So go ahead, get comfortable, and throw on that Do Not Disturb sign as we ride out the storm with Bodies, Bodies, Bodies.
You're always gaslighting me.
You fucking trigger me.
You are so toxic.
Relax.
You're silencing me.
What is going on my Zoomers? Thank you for checking back into the Grand Cinema Hotel. We are back for some more Halloween spooky season fun. I'm joined by Alvaro.
What's up, guys?
We are here to talk about A24's slasher, comedy, horror, genre blend mix-up of a movie, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. Alvaro, you had mentioned this when we did our summer movie review.
That's
I know
true.
you had mentioned that you've seen it, seems like way back then already, but still playing in the theaters. It's recently VOD. How did you feel the first time you saw this movie?
So I have the date here. August 4th was when I watched it. Yeah. This was interestingly enough, I'd seen it one of the first places it came out. It was really packed. This was a packed showing for me. Like every seat was taken.
This
in the
had
theater.
hype for sure.
Yeah, and so it was interesting to watch it with the crowd like that. I would say it did seem like the crowd liked it a little more than I did.
Yeah.
It was suited, I feel like, for a certain interest. I do think the trailer was a little derailing for this movie, and I feel like they did it on purpose. But I guess I walked out feeling like I could say I liked this movie, but very slimly. And I guess because I have a lot of issues with some of the way it tries to satirize. I appreciate what it tries to do, but I think it could have been better executed.
Yeah, definitely. So very rarely do we discuss movies on the podcast that are like a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
We usually are pretty in on a movie, no, this is good. Here, let me tell you why. But I personally had a lot of fun with this movie. I think I like it more than you do. I also did feel like it was mismarketed. But, I also understand that they were trying to call this like an original take on a slasher. But I don't
Exactly.
agree with that. The comedy works for me really well in this. I do think this is like a really funny movie. But yeah, the horror and the tension, all of that kind of stuff,
Not there.
fell completely flat for me, honestly.
Yeah.
I didn't think there was one scare or one set piece that really got me. Like, oh, that the movie was worth watching for that 15-minute stretch. But yeah, I mean, as a comedy movie, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think that's where, in a way, obviously, in this podcast, we've talked a lot about A24 movies, and that's kind of where they hold my interest for me personally, is I think even I could walk out appreciating that I watched that. It still isn't something that I can compare to anything I've watched this year, or maybe even last year since we started the podcast, and we've always kind of talked about how we want more comedy horror movies that are good, and I think that one lives there, and I think I liked it more the second time that I watched it, a little more, but I don't know. I think I like that in a way it was mismarketed, because I guess now you kind of really see that people like it for what it is. It kind of is the first time watch a surprise, what you're getting into. You kind of expecting these things to come, and maybe that was the reason why I didn't like it as much. Maybe I was expecting something else, which I've found like on second watches, I kind of readjust, and then I end up kind of enjoying more of the comedy that I did this time, more of the comedy. And then I think sometimes what happens too is at the moment I feel a certain way, and then I write about it, sometimes on reviews, but I don't really talk about it. And then when it comes up again, I kind of remember or kind of want to test my own validation of how I felt on the hot take,
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like I don't exactly feel as strongly as I did with the hot take after sitting it and kind of knowing what I'm going into, and whether that's a good or bad thing, I guess that's to everybody's opinion.
I feel like when you watch a movie alone too, it becomes an echo chamber of your own thoughts. So you don't have anyone to bounce off of. Be like, did that suck, or am I just like in a bad mood? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe that had something to do with it. But I also do think that the second rewatch would definitely make the movie more appealing. And I think this is one. Okay, so I want to do full spoilers on this episode.
That's cool.
Because I think that there's not really much going on if you don't talk about the spoilers.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in theaters, VOD. It's been what, almost 3 months. I feel like in our fast-paced movie landscape nowadays, that's enough time to like you. Anyway, so spoilers. I feel like a big reveal that we see at the very end, it would make the movie 10 times funnier if it was in the beginning. Like the big reveal is,
I agree.
Pete Davidson is our first character to die, and it's the catalyst for the whole night. Like this is where it becomes a whodunit. But if you get that key piece of information that was withheld from the characters and the audience, I feel like it would make it funnier because you'd be like, wow, these people are really morons.
Yeah, because I see that's an interesting point.
You are in on it in the beginning. You're like, okay, well, I could see why she would kill him, or I could see why, like Lee Pace, for instance,
would have
why
beef.
you'd be like, oh, he's older, he's a little, is he creepy, or
he's a
is
vet?
Is he? You know what I mean? So it's just the these people are moronic. They're idiots. Like, it's the easiest way to put it. And I'm kind of petty, so I like to hate watch things. And it's not that I hate watch this movie, but a group of people that I find unsavory, seeing them get what's coming to them is extremely satisfying to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead. Sorry.
No, what I was gonna say, sorry, is that it's interesting you say that, because that was a really like something I had been thinking about too, like that. If the audience had known, but still the characters were withheld that information, it would have really elevated this, like you said. Because it kind of reminds me of, what's that comedy movie with, her last name's Weaver, the Ready or Not, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I had a feeling you were going to bring it up.
So like that, like when you talk about when like you're like, those, I detest these characters, but because something's bad's happening to them, like, that's why the movie's good, right?
Other movies I thought of was like Knives Out. You're like, good. I'm glad none of you assholes.
Yeah.
It's one of those types of movies. I saw that the director Helena Rain, she had the movie mashup of how she sold this is like, I wanted to make Mean Girls meets Lord of the Flies. But I feel like she was heavy on the Mean Girls and less on the Lord of the Flies. And I know it's a whodunit trope to kind of hold back on the violence. The violence mostly takes place off screen.
Facts.
But when you're trying to polish a turd, I think violence is needed to kind of, you get that instinctual reaction from violence. So like some of the reveals and like I was saying, the horror and the set pieces, like the building of tension, I didn't feel any of it. So if you had at least given me some more gore or some more, not action, but just if I was clued in more to what was going on, you didn't show me what I wanted to see. Like you held all the good stuff. That's what I feel like. They just held all the good stuff off screen.
Interestingly enough, I don't want to get ahead of myself a little too much, but a movie we might talk about in the near future, I think takes what you're talking about, and that's why it's better.
Okay, I wanted to bring this up. Are you talking about Barbarian?
Yeah,
Barbarian episode coming next week.
And it's that they give you the part that you want, that you're talking about. Like, okay, I'm getting all of this, but when it does get to the really, really violent stuff, it goes there past some movies. And this movie is the opposite.
I don't want to start spoiling another movie, but or getting ahead of ourselves too much.
Yeah.
And talking about the next episode already. But in Barbarian, when the second act starts and, characters show up, you're like, oh, you're fucked. And you have no clue.
Yeah, exactly. So and then at the end of the day, that movie was funnier to me than this movie was.
Oh, it's a much more successful blend of horror comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but I couldn't help but compare them, and obviously we're gonna talk about them. But I did find it interesting that I could compare them in that way, because I didn't really think about that up until we were talking about this episode and thinking about how they contrast each other in that way.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just looking through my notes, seeing if I had anything else I wanted to really bring up. Other first reaction stuff is like I don't usually do this, but I honestly just thought that I found the film to be like very ugly.
Okay.
I didn't think it was shot well. I didn't really like the cinematography. I understand what they are doing, but so it's not like it's a. I don't give it a mark for like this is just bad. I just don't agree with the style choice.
Yeah.
I still think there's a better way to light this movie than just using iPhone lighting. But I get that is the movie. You know, I'm not gonna hate on it for that. But stylistically, I just don't mesh with how the movie looked. Really,
That's agreeable.
I feel like the film's cheapness kind of oozes from the lens, and every shot of a coked out TikTok e-girl ready to lose her shit at a moment's notice just. I just feel all the ugliness coming out of the movie. You know what I mean? Like it's a movie about these rich young 20-somethings, but it's all so ugly. I mean, the ugly weather, the ugly people inside and out. You know,
it's making fun of it so hard, like in Mean Girls, it's starting to become the plastic.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and I agree with you in that because it just that's where I think it goes too heavy-handed at one point for me, and it's funny. You know, I'm not part of that generation. It is funny. It has a lot of moments in there. We talked about it before, off pod, like they were really funny. But I think
there's a lot of like subtle jokes that I was like, it's hilarious.
Or I think another point that I wanted to touch upon is everybody kind of knows a person like one of the characters in this, you know? And so it just, like you said, you end up being like, that would happen to that person that I also know.
You have either been in one of these friend groups or avoided them at all costs.
Or maybe you are that person.
Yeah,
but
or maybe you're listening to us right now.
Yeah, which is cool too. You know, no hate there, but I do find that interesting about the movie, and like those are the things that I like, that I can relate to it a lot, and I like what it did attempt. I do think it's ambitious.
Yeah, I mean, overall it's a cool movie, and I do recommend it. Like I think it's worth the watch.
Yeah,
but. I feel like if much like something like Don't Look Up, when the satire doesn't work for you, it's gonna just ruin the entire movie, you know?
Yeah.
So satire is a fine line to walk, really. You never know, because comedy is even more subjective than, you know, they say art is subjective, but comedy really, really is. I didn't really know much about the director, honestly, before this, so I just did some small research. Like we said, Helena Rain. Third movie, English debut. I saw that she was like a classically trained actor for many years. And her directorial debut was in 2019. So she's had 3 movies. She's churning them out pretty fast. She's working at a fast rate. So that's cool. I always like when a director who at least makes one thing that I'm aware of, like, okay, cool. Like I can get more of this, you know? Like I had always wished that the Safdies had something like a year after Uncut Gems. Like we're still waiting for that next movie, you know? And sometimes I need a hit, man. I need a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would definitely watch another one of her movies. Like I don't think that, although I find the movie to be quite clunky, I don't know if it's necessarily all her fault.
Yeah. I don't know if you've looked into this, but I think there's like a couple of writers in the movie.
And 2, 3, the story's been reworked. Like Helena Rain herself said that the screenwriter that they went with, that I believe her name is Kristen Rupinian, that it was a spec script. So she created the story. It was based on mostly more on the game aspect of the movie.
Okay.
But that Helena Rain just kind of had that different vision of like, well, I'm not as interested in the game as I am the Mean Girls, Lord of the Flies angle. So I do think, yeah, like you're saying, just so many hands being in the cookie jar when the story's trying to come together. That's never good.
No, I don't
think so. It's very rare when you're like, yo, this had 5 writers or 6 writers and it ended up being great.
And I think this is a pretty good product based off of that.
Yeah.
It could have been way worse.
It could definitely be way worse. That's what I was going to say. But yeah, having the multiple hands, I feel like maybe that's why, you know, maybe in that first, this is all speculation, of course. It's not like I know this, but maybe that first spec script was more horror driven. And then this vision that the director had kind of, no, let's lean more towards the comedy aspect of it, you know?
Yeah.
But I just seen some of the quotes that she said recently in interviews, and like some of the stuff she's cited as inspiration for this, and It's like, good lord, calm down. You know what I mean? Like,
Is it Scream? Scream's in there?
no. Like
Okay.
some of the influences I saw, she did an interview with Vice recently. It's like, okay, Heathers, that makes sense. I don't know if you know about that movie. It's a Winona Ryder, clicky teen girl movie from the 80s. It's a comedy horror movie. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, the piano teacher, cries and whispers in the filmography of
Oh
John
my
Cassavetes.
God.
I don't know if you misconstrued this question as what movies do you like and not what movies influence this one, because I don't see that at all.
John Cassavetes. I mean,
John Cassavetes, how he made movies about TikTok girls.
I mean, yeah, I think I agree with your point of view there. I think she's just talking about the movies that she really likes, which is cool. Which is cool too, But I just what?
Did this take place in the Criterion Closet? And she was picking DVDs and like, oh, I like this movie.
yeah.
I like this movie.
She's like blindfold picking movies.
Another
This
one that I
inspired
just
me.
thought was like an Olympic level take, honestly, was she has a background in, classical stage acting, and so did the screenwriter. Actually, you know what? The screenwriter, the story was by Kristen Rupinian, but the actual screenwriting credit went to Sarah DeLapp, right? So Sarah DeLapp also has like a classic background in theater acting, and in their heads, they're seeing this as like, oh, this is kind of like a take on Chekhov, like the same way like
Oh my
Drive My
God.
Car
No,
is a take
no
on
way.
Chekhov. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Okay.
Like, so there is a certain level of like pretension going in, or I don't even know if that's a word, of pretentiousness going into this movie. And I think that also might be why it has an uneven tone, because it's like, do you realize what you're making? You're making something more in the vein of Spring Breakers than you are Chekhov.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just feel like, I love the confidence. Like, I'm gonna shoot my shot. I'm gonna shoot from 40 feet, but you might have airballed that one.
Chekhov, right? Like Drive My Car, comparing the bodies,
Uncle
bodies,
Vanya?
bodies. Like, oh man. Yeah, I like that just because I do think that's where the tones just don't mesh really well. It explains a lot, because there is a direction here that would have worked so much better, and maybe it is as simple as the style, but yeah, it's there's just segments in this movie where I'm like, I don't need to be paying attention or whatever.
I mean, for me, it really is like I was fueled by the hate I had for these people. I'm like, they're so annoying. They're like my least favorite people. You know what I mean? Like rich 20-somethings living off their parents' money, partying in a mansion. Like, it's a hurricane, but we're having the time of our lives. Like, just the worst people, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, this is so satisfying. And like, I know we said spoilers, so to see that like most of these people die from their own drug-fueled stupidity was just hilarious.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be like it's like offensive to drug addicts, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But it was just really funny for me to watch. So that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Well, yeah, I get it in the context of this movie and the people that they are, and what kind of they really stand for and how they really carry themselves as people. And just in the terms of how comedic it is to see anybody's downfall in a movie like this.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not tragic in any way. It's all played for comedy, and they're literally just all annoying. You know what I mean? Like, we'll get into them in a little bit, because I do think, although I'm saying they're so annoying and they're the worst people, this cast to me, while it's some unknowns and some really known people, and then a mix of, there's a good mix here of all three levels of actor.
I agree.
That I loved the cast, and I think they all brought really great things to the movie.
Yeah.
They all are different people. No one is like a copy of anybody else, but they're just the worst, dude. That's how I felt. You know what I mean? Like, so it's the same way you watch a fucking TikTok and you're like, I hate this so much, but I can't stop looking at it.
The only one I did really like is Lee Pace.
Oh yeah, daddy is fucking this movie.
Yeah.
That's all I can think.
Talking.
He's goo goo gaga daddy is fucking
Yeah,
this movie. Like,
he's-
what did he say? I wasn't even paying attention.
Yeah, no, I get it. He's
That's
the only
Ronan the
character.
Destroyer, bro. Like,
He's the only character. Dang. He's the only character here that's just chill as fuck, huh?
yeah, I mean, we let me do the synopsis really quick. I know we've been kind of dancing around, and then let's get into the cast.
Sounds good.
So synopsis: a group of young rich friends take shelter at a friend's house to ride out a hurricane and party the night away. When a party game goes from extremely awkward to a body on the ground, the chaos ensues as this group of fake friends tries to uncover the killer among them. And I mean, this movie kind of is just a really fucked up version of Among Us. LOL bozos.
Yep.
Yeah. So we can get into the cast because I think this is where we can really talk about. From here we can kind of start free flowing, but I do want to bring up the cast members. So the standout is obviously Rachel Sennett, right?
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, she's not the main character or anything, but I thought she had all of the best jokes. I thought her character was the funniest. I just absolutely loved her ability to just instigate and then make the situation about herself somehow.
In a way, would you say that who is the main character in this movie?
Oh,
Is
I
this
would say it's
Sophie.
It's Sophie and B, but it really like for us, the audience, we're supposed to be B.
Exactly.
Played by Maria Bakalova. You probably know her from
Borat.
her encounter with Rudy Giuliani
Yeah.
in the Borat movie.
Interesting. If we could put clips in here, that'd be an interesting clip to have added to
I would say that B is supposed to be us, the audience. You know,
Agreed, yeah.
Looking in on this group. You know, like my wife always says that like I never want to like join a fully formed friend group and be the only person that nobody knows. You know what I mean? Like, because she was telling me when we were watching this, she's like, "This is why," like, because this is what happened to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what these people are into, but I would say yeah, B, and then Sophie is her like talking about it in a hero's journey sense. She is the Obi-Wan. She introduces her to the world. You know, the call to action.
At the end, they conquer both worlds.
And return to normal.
Yep. Hero's journey. I like that.
Yeah,
That's the
definitely.
Uncle Vanya in here.
That's the Chekhov, bro.
Yeah.
I had to think about it.
Oh, I see now. I get it.
But yeah, I thought Rachel Sennett was the best character. I mean, I've never felt so seen. She was a podcast host. You
Yep.
know?
Shiva Baby, right?
She often talked about, yeah, that's an amazing movie. I love that movie.
And I also have one of her favorite little, I guess you would call it just little clips on the internet.
Oh,
From being in
yeah.
LA.
Yeah, it's LA.
Yeah, everybody has a Coke. You don't have one?
You don't
Get
have
one.
no, she says,
Coke addiction?
no. She's like, you don't have an eating disorder? Get one,
One
bitch.
bitch.
I mean, we're butchering this, but we definitely have to add that into our post.
Yeah.
I definitely want to have that there because that's one of my favorite internet clips ever. It's so relevant to anybody who has spent any sort of time in LA.
Did you know she's been internet canceled?
I did not know why, because they just
Faked you, apparently.
she's got the Pacino thing going on.
Apparently.
Yeah. It's okay. Apparently that's okay. Those two groups have decided that they can commingle
It's
and play
okay.
each other. in
As
movies.
long as it's funny, which she is, and the best character in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I know she kind of became like an internet it girl after Shiva Baby.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to say she's like the same level of how excited the internet was about Julia Fox. But, you know, I think, you know, people were getting a little horny on the main, liking Rachel Sennett a little too much. And then people were like, she's not even good, bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't agree. I'm not going to get into all of that. But, I mean, I enjoy her work.
So, yeah, me too.
And I think she's hilarious. I like her a lot. Can't wait to see her in more stuff. I know in the media push for this movie that her name's Amandla Stenberg. I didn't recognize her because I'd never seen the one movie that she's really known for. Do you remember that movie, The Hate You Give?
No.
You know, it's about a movie. It's a black girl. She goes to an all-white school. You know, racism ensues. You know, police brutality. And it was called The Hate You Give, like how Tupac made that for the word thug. You know, it means the hate you give. Do you not? Is this like a cinema blind spot? Do you even know what I'm talking about?
I'm looking it up right now. I'm looking at it, and I have no recollection of this
But
movie
that
ever
was
coming
That
out.
was her like big breakout, and this was a pretty popular movie, I would say, when it came out. But it's kind of one of those things where you're like, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But I felt like she was really pushed as the breakout star of this. Like, oh, this is her turn, and I could see it. You know, I could see her definitely being cast in the next season of Euphoria or
Seriously.
the show with the Weeknd.
The Weeknd,
the
yeah.
Twisted
Yeah.
Mind of Sam Levinson. So I could definitely see her being a new indie it girl, being in a couple more A24 movies, but I don't really think of her as the like protagonist. Nobody in this is a protagonist. They all suck.
Yeah, they know me a goth, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we have good old Pete Davidson. You know, you can't have a movie without Pete Davidson these days.
Let me put on my Kanye face on. Skeet? Huh.
Skeet? Yeah, man.
I mean,
he basically plays himself in this movie. You know, cash grab, easy, payday, show up, get to fucking just act how people already perceive me. You know what I mean? Like, I thought it was a little too meta. The like, I fuck, and that's the look I want to put out there. You know,
Yeah.
and it's like, bro, you're standing next to Daddy Lee Pace. Like, just,
No.
could there be a more visual symbol for like the alpha and the beta?
Yeah, exactly. He like the I like that his statement was like, let me just get my tattoos covered up, so it's not really me, right? It's just I'm covering some of them up, also not
I
all
did
of them.
notice that, and I just thought it's because they're like the worst fucking tattoos I've ever seen. But
I mean,
Yeah.
probably.
they're up
I
there
think.
with the Ben Affleck Phoenix. I don't know if you've ever seen
Yeah,
that.
I've seen that. That's incredible. J-Lo sees that every day.
But I mean, the one relevant piece of two relevant pieces of information is this is his parents' mansion, and he really is the catalyst for the entire plot. I mean, we've already said spoilers. This idiot has an 1,000 ways to die ass death.
Yeah.
He's trying to film a TikTok of him doing that like champagne sword trick.
That Lee Pace did so easily.
Yeah, that Lee Pace did it.
See,
in one
exactly.
shot.
The Chad.
The Chad.
The
Lee
Giga
Pace.
Chad. He literally looks like the Giga Chad meme, too.
The Virgin Pete Davidson.
Yeah, exactly.
And his 10-inch beam.
And you know he don't smash, apparently. That's what they
Oh,
say in
man.
this movie.
Yeah, exactly. More of that. There you go. Rachel Sennett stirring the pot, right? But yeah, he's the big like, I wouldn't even say like the MacGuffin, you know, but that key piece of information that is held until the end. Really, just that's what makes it so funny to me. Is that,
I think that's
dude,
why
if
it
they had
works.
Just fucking seen this.
That angle works for me in this movie, and I think that's why I like it.
Yeah,
or like recommend it.
He's dating. Her name's Emma, played by Chase Sui Wonders. I'm probably getting that wrong. But in the movie, she plays an actor, which is kind of funny because they keep going on about how like she was in this play and like she's so good, and then like halfway through the movie, they're like she was okay.
Yeah.
And just that I love the frenemy stuff going on throughout the entire thing. You know, we are one thing that we kind of get in this movie, and it's like a lingering shadow over the movie, is that Pete Davidson has a brother named Max who the night before our movie starts, he socks Pete Davidson in the eye and he confesses his love for Emma, his current girlfriend, right? So that shadow's kind of lingering over the entire movie. Like, is Max our unseen antagonist, you know? But in a better movie, yeah, probably.
Is he the man in the is he the man in the black gloves, right?
Yeah,
pulling
exactly.
bodies through the
Exactly.
the
But
window.
going back to the unevenness of the movie and like the writing, although I think the comedy's funny, the actual just execution of the story and everything, I feel like that was kind of just a wasted opportunity. It was really
Right.
just there for a joke.
Yeah.
It's a setup for a joke that you get for 2 seconds at the end, really. I mean, the thing that made it worth it for me was that he was played by Connor O'Malley, which if you've ever seen any of Tim Robinson's work, like I Think You Should Leave or the Detroiters and stuff like that.
Which, if you haven't
He's
noticed
got
by
some
now,
of the funniest skits in that one. The honk if you're horny sticker.
Yeah,
And,
that's my
and my
favorite one.
personal favorite one is he's the guy who has the dog, and when he's doing the Blues Brothers dance. But
Oh,
you know, this
man.
isn't an I Think You Should Leave pod, even though it
probably should be.
Yeah, but that was my big like, oh, this is worth it. This is worth it. I was Leo pointing at the screen.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. No, I do. I recognize him from something, and that's one of my favorite skits, the honk if you're horny one.
I'm so horny, my back
Just
hurts.
because it ends up turning into Saturday.
No, Friday night.
A Friday,
Which is Friday night right now.
Yeah, exactly. Which is good luck, right? But yeah, I think I agree with your sentiment here that the cast is something I enjoy about this film. They do work off each other really well, and I do think it comes off as a group of friends that would be like a Gen Z group of friends. At least how you would think of it to be. Stereotypical.
Older, like our younger millennials, I guess, like us, who are closer to 30, we see these young college kids who, you know, they might live next door and throw parties, and you're like, they're so fucking annoying. I can't stand them. But that's just me becoming a boomer. You
And
know?
these are the people that they are. But what was it? This movie does have heavy, like, just TikTok energy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I was going to bring this up earlier. Oh, well, let me do this. There's one last person who I wanted to bring up. It's Myha'la Herald. She's Jordan. I would say she's definitely the leader of the friend group, quote unquote.
Yeah.
If you're on Twitter, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
The
Like
leader.
the leader of the friend group discourse. She's cold. She's calculating. She's accusatory. She's trying to handle the situation. And in the movie, in the context of the movie, she's the only one who realizes that like we just walked into a horror film. Like this has become a horror film, and everybody else is either too drugged out or screaming their head off to even kind of let's take a second and try to actually get the fuck out of here. So, but also, she does seem the most like, oh, she's probably the killer, right?
Yeah,
that's
at the same
definitely
time.
what I thought.
Yeah, because she seems. They all seem to really have beef with her the same way they have with our mate B, right? That's the name of her.
No, Sophie.
Sophie, sorry.
Is the friend who, she's a drug addict. She's been away from the group. She crashed this party. She wasn't even really invited.
Yeah, so I think they have a lot of that hate relationship towards her too, and it's because she just seems mean.
Well, there's none of the thing is, I was thinking about it. I was thinking over it. None of them really. There's not one of them that the whole group decides like, yeah, dude, she's a sweetheart. She's an angel.
Yeah,
she's perfect.
they all
She's the
have
best
issues,
of us.
yeah.
You know, no, they all fucking hate each other in one way or another. I mean, honestly, Lee Pace, he plays Greg. We already kind of talked about him. You know, he's a 40-something veterinarian. He met Alice on Tinder like 2 days ago in the movie. You don't really know how to gauge him at first. You know, like, is it creepy because of the age gap, like that kind of thing? Or is it just like, look at the old dork who's going along with our TikTok dance. He doesn't even know what it is, but he's like, hey, I'm down to have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like how parents end up, how many of the funniest things on TikTok are parents who have no clue what TikTok even is? You know, and that's kind of the energy he was giving me. Outside of the questions we have with him, like the mysterious angle, I would say he's probably the most likable character, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And I would have to say it's because he is the the stand-in for an older generation. So he's a lot more comfortable in his skin. He, like we said, he's the alpha. Pete Davidson is the beta. Like Pete Davidson, hella cringe. You're scaring the hoes.
Yeah,
you know what
seriously.
I mean? And like Lee Pace is like, I'm pretty sure all these girls are enjoying the fact that he's here.
He's literally biting his girlfriend. Skeet.
Nah, man.
No.
I mean, I'm no longer a Kanye West fan, but I am not a Skeet fan either.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm Switzerland in this fight. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. You guys can beef this out somewhere else. I have no interest
So,
in this.
although I don't think it's the strongest cast ever to be in an indie film, like I don't think like, oh man, every single person in this is gonna go on to lead their own Marvel franchise one day. You know what I mean? I do think it's a mixed bag, but overall, I think as a team, this is I do enjoy
Really
it.
strong.
Yeah, I enjoy the cast. I think it's the best part of the movie. I mean,
I think if the dynamic here isn't as well thought out as it is with the characters, this could fall really easily, and a lot of weaker actors probably wouldn't have been able to pull off just how real this kind of felt.
yeah, like I don't want to say that Rachel Sennett is like the most well-known or like veteran actor of the group, but that video we're referring to of her doing like the impression of an LA girl, they're all kind of following suit. You know what I mean? So that feels like the only consistent tone throughout the whole movie. But overall, I didn't think I was enjoying it as I was watching it until I got to the end, and I was like, no, that was fun.
The fun movie is a pretty good way to describe this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think this is going to be our longest episode ever. Honestly, I could see this being one of our shortest, but I overall had a really good time, honestly.
Yeah, I think there is.
How are you feeling now? Now that we've talked about it a little bit, now that you've seen it twice. Did you think you would see this movie twice?
No, I didn't think I would see this movie twice. Not in the same year, at least. I guess some of it does come from a lot of times this happened to us in prior episodes before where we were really excited for things. And I'd been really excited for this movie. And I guess I thought it's because what I got from Pearl actually was what I guess I thought before is what I would get from this movie. And
I didn't really have any expectations, to be honest. I saw it, and I know, when we would go to the movies and stuff, we'd see the trailer and be like, okay, cool, that'll probably be an episode,
Yeah.
We pretty routinely check into A24 distributed movies,
yeah.
That stamp, that A24 stamps, ooh. You know what I mean? But, Yeah, I didn't really have any expectations, honestly. I mean, it didn't look like it was going to be really good from the trailer. And I don't know, no disrespect to any of the people involved in making this movie, but I don't know if anybody set out to make I'm going to make the definitive whodunit. You know, I just feel like
Yeah.
this is it's like when an artist is like, I'm not going to, I'm going to do an experimental jazz album just because, you know, this would be fun.
Yeah,
Honestly.
that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does really feel like. Sorry, it does really feel like the director just got one to. You said this is her first film in America,
Her first English film, yeah.
or
Well,
first
I'm
English
guessing
film,
America,
yeah. Okay, so it does feel like a lot of they were just kind of given directions on what kind of people or what kind of tones they should act like. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of these girls are probably friends with people that are like this, and they ended up mimicking them for the roles in here. And that's really what it feels like. I wonder what, like, how much heavy-handedness was in the direction, you know, and in terms of keeping them locked into the story. Like, these are the dynamics that have to happen story-wise. I feel like a lot of it was more about being funny, like you said.
So since we've unlocked the spoilers on this one, did you have what was your like overall favorite moment? Because I know mine, but I'd like to hear yours. I don't think they're going to be the same either.
Think it's interesting because I guess in terms of just the story it'd be one, but the moment that stands out to me more is the comedic part, and I guess it's when they're in the kitchen, talking to each other and having that discussion in between each other, and like the instigation between like Rachel Sennett's character, and just kind of when they're talking about her being her parents being teachers at the university.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then
you're
her-
upper middle class.
And then all the way up to like the podcast thing, and then just the fact that they're really shitting on each other for like, I don't know, probably like 10 minutes. And then I just really like, because I think that's like a really strong part of the film. Like you're talking about, the cast is really like going well off of each other, and I think that really shows a lot of the power players in this movie are
I
all
believe
going
what
for
I'm
each other.
seeing.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm like, oh, this does feel like real life when a friend group is just like tearing apart at the seams. And you're like, oh shit. Or like it felt like maybe you go to a high school party and like a pre-established couple from school, and then you know like one of them cheats at the party, and you've watched the whole thing go down. And you're like, oh fuck! Like
Yeah.
by the end of the night, like this is something you probably seen like. We ran into each other a couple times at high school parties before, and I know that you and I have probably seen some wild shit that was like, damn, that's gonna have a rippling effect.
Yeah, yeah,
You know
exactly.
what I mean? Like, I didn't say it that way as a kid, but now as an adult, like I'm like, damn, that one choice probably affected that person for a long time.
I think that's why this movie, I think that's why we like seeking out new movies. These directors are more our age or more experienced to the life that we had, right? And I do think that, again, kind of like the movie we talked about, Poltergeist, last time, maybe that's the common factor with a lot of these, is very relatable. There's a lot of people that I met where we grew up who were pretty well off, or their parents were pretty well off, and they had houses like this, but they were assholes. And a lot of their friend group was assholes too, and you could see a lot of these characters
And
reflected.
I did hate go to their parties.
Yeah,
Like-
and I did hate go to, because their parties were so cool because their houses were big. But I went to go, try to hit on chicks or whatever. But in high school, it had a lot of that energy there.
I went to go smoke weed in your backyard, even though you said we're not allowed to.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. What are you gonna do about
What are
it?
you gonna stop me?
Yeah, I brought the 24 pack of Bush Light, right? And you can't kick me out now.
You can't stop me from drinking this Four Loko with my 4 friends.
So I did feel that way watching it. It reminded me a lot of, quote unquote, my youth,
Yeah, no, and it's kind of funny that you say that. People closer to our age, because I would say I don't want to say a middle-aged woman, but I believe she's in her either late 30s or 40s, so she is older than us. But this is one of those movies, and I think what the like kind of going off the point you just brought up, we are starting to get to a point now where some films feel like they were made by someone my age or even younger. And with Bodies, I felt like it was the first time. Like, if you told me someone who was 25 years old directed this movie, I would believe you.
Yeah.
Like, it does have that youthful energy. And, the older you get, fucking young people are annoying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even 30 yet, and I find people who are 20, 21 to be pretty fucking annoying.
Interestingly enough, something we don't bring up too much on this podcast is I wonder how this film will age.
It's hard to say because films hardly do age. You have to have a
All-timer.
pretty big footprint nowadays.
Yeah, especially nowadays because there's so many stuff,
So
so
much
much
shit to
stuff coming
watch.
out. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about satire and like Don't Look Up, right? And everything always kind of gets compared to Doctor Strangelove, and like
I
that's
was
like,
gonna do it and I didn't, but
not.
here it is
I'm not.
anyways.
I'm not directly comparing these two movies. That's why I wanted to bring one in the middle, you know. But I just mean that satires that are all timers, not too many.
No, like the two I always think of are Network and Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah, and I think because there's so much more about bigger themes, you know, they're making fun of like systems,
They're making fun of the end of the world. Yeah, like
Yeah.
how news is perceived by people.
how
you
people
know?
are dumb, you know. And in this one, it's like a set generation is so
Aren't
misdirected.
kids on their phone and TikToks? Aren't they dumb?
Yeah,
Like, yeah, but that's it. That's all you have to say.
yeah. So that's like yeah.
It
So
feels like a half-baked judgment. You know what I mean? Like, so you've never thought about it any deeper than like, you know, why are they addicted to their phones? Why do so many people have fake friends or none at all? Like I was telling you yesterday that I seen a study that most people our age or younger only have one friend or no friends.
Yeah.
And it's like 1 in 10 men and 1 in 7 women. And this movie kind of, you know, they have a friend group, but none of these people are actually friends.
they don't like each other. That's
No.
for sure. Yeah, it's like a status thing, you know.
Like Rachel Sennett brings it up at one point when so Alice and Jordan are arguing, right? Jordan is like we said, the cold calculating one. They make the joke that it's like fucking the spreadsheet, right?
Yeah, that's insane.
And,
That's funny.
that's one of my favorite jokes. But Alice, you know, she's a podcaster, but you know, she's one of those people who she thinks she's doing something important. It's not really to her friends, you know. They kind of just see it as like that's your dumb little hobby or whatever.
She's just
I
like-
feel seen right there.
She's
you
just
know?
like me for real.
Yeah, she's just like me for real. But when they start kind of going at it, and Jordan's like, I only hang out with you because nobody likes you, and I feel bad for you. And then it's like, yeah, well, same fucking thing on this side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nobody likes you, and the only reason I hang out with you is because I've known you for so long, and the pressure of your friendship is like holding me down, you know? And that's, I think, why it feels relevant, but I don't think they go into that deep enough, you know? Like,
Yeah.
there's these. I think the problem with the pacing sometimes is that because it's kind of short, it jumps around too much and it doesn't sit on the moments that are really like, ooh, man, I could feel
Yeah.
feel the tensity building in this. But
Which is like that's why I mean I only do like the one scene where they kind of hash that out.
I
You
think
know,
it's two. Because there's a kitchen scene that you're talking about where she's like, she's holding a knife. She's pointing a knife at me. You know, and they're pointing it out. And then later on is when, like we said, spoilers, when she has the gun. That's
Yeah.
when they really start going. Or fuck, it's even 3 moments.
yeah.
It
Because
could be
I was gonna say the other moment that's kind of like that is worth bringing up. I think is when they start playing the game Bodies, 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 which is obviously just kind of like a tag game, obviously.
Well, other versions of it are Mafia or Werewolf. Which
Yeah.
Lee Pace actually finally
I like
brings
that.
up. Yeah, he's like, oh, I get it. We're playing Werewolf. I'm the Werewolf.
Woo!
Yeah, the reason that's in there is because when they asked Helena Rain if she had ever played this game, she's like, yeah, when I was a kid, there was this game, but we called it Werewolf. So
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. But that's when they kind of judge the character for I'm forgetting her name, but for having a fake cry.
Oh,
And like-
Emma, because she's an actor.
and
They're
then-
like, look, there it is, right there.
And then, like, kind of like you said, they kind of set it up where Pete Davidson might, or she might have killed Pete Davidson because he just says the most fucked up stuff about his girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, that's what when I said in the synopsis that it goes from extremely awkward to a body on the floor. Like, that right there is one of the better scenes in the movie. Because
Yeah.
you're just like, whew, I've been there. You know, you go to someone's house to hang out and two people you don't know start arguing and you're like, oh, fuck,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the fuck out of here before something goes
Yeah,
bad.
it is it. And then master instigator, you know, we have she
I
starts
know.
bringing
Rachel said that. She's like, you do that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Oh, yeah, she did tell me that. We were talking
You're
about it.
lying, yeah.
Oh, man.
Is that why you guys don't have sex anymore? she were talking about me behind my back. Yeah, she was. Like, dang. I mean, I respect it. That's the funny. That's
I
funny.
respect it because, like you said, when we would go to like maybe a party or something of someone we didn't really care for or we didn't even know them really, you would see that stuff go down in front of you. You know, you might be hanging out in someone's kitchen having a drink and you see two strangers arguing. And you're like, this is crazy. You're like,
Why do people-
I'm actually glad I'm witnessing this.
Exactly. Like, why do people like watching videos of car wrecks?
This movie is an e-girl car wreck.
Yeah, it's just a TikTok girl's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
With her friends that she met on TikTok. They all rented out an Airbnb.
That's for next week, man. Airbnb talk is next
you're
week.
right. You're right.
But I never got to. I didn't say my favorite moment actually, but it's kind of obvious. It's when B kills Greg. With the
That is good. That's the one part where it takes
with
it there.
kettlebell.
Yeah.
That was like, oh, okay, here we go. We're getting more of this.
One scene.
Nope. Maybe in a longer movie or a better, a movie that was more into the horror side of it or like the thriller side of it. But that's not this movie.
No, it's
And
not.
I've come to grips with the fact that I enjoyed this movie, even though it's not what I thought it was going to be. I'm pretty glad I watched it, honestly. So, I mean, for me, I'm pretty tapped out. I don't know how much more I really have to say because this isn't a movie that I really thought about too much. It didn't keep me up at night. Like, what did bodies mean?
Yeah, seriously.
I just had a lot of fun.
Another thing I guess we don't really bring up in here that I liked a lot about this poster or like about this movie is a lot of its posters.
Oh yeah, the marketing works.
They're aesthetically pleasing. I did really like. I guess they are very slasher driven.
Neon.
Yeah, they are
I
very
like neon.
slasher driven, and again they kind of use that to their advantage in terms of making it look like a slasher, even in the trailer. But I do think that podcast was kind of built on championing films like this and kind of just giving them a notice. And not that this movie really needs any more attention necessarily, but I do think that there's certain movies that I like watching and I don't necessarily love. And this is one of them that I think in the future, if there's somebody that I meet that really likes this movie, be like, yeah, I can see, it's agreeable. Why I could see, it's not for me.
Not my cup of tea, bruh.
Yeah.
But overall, solid.
Recommend.
I don't mind. I don't feel bad about having the bodies crew as guests in our hotel.
Yeah.
They might be a
exactly.
little cringe. Some of them are not going to grow out of it because they're dead. Be like, but maybe they'll live, they'll learn, and they'll grow up to be functioning members of society.
They're next to Poltergeist. That'd be interesting.
No. Yeah, should have got them. You took the wrong family.
Exactly.
But I definitely recommend this. I mean, hey, shoot, for $4 on Amazon Prime or iTunes or whatever, I held out. I wasn't paying $20 to watch this fucking movie at home. That's another reason we're doing this now versus when it was in the theater.
Yeah. No, I get
about
that.
to waste my free A-list reserve on this.
Yeah, nah, no way. Yeah, no, I get that. And yeah, interestingly enough, I didn't think we'd end up talking about this movie, but I'm glad that we did.
Yeah, me too. It kind of, although it's a shorter podcast, I do think it just adds a different angle to not constantly be sitting here and just like, this is so good,
Yeah.
It's not that we wanted to ever really hate on movies, and I don't think that's something we're really gonna dive into too much.
Yeah.
But maybe some more mixed bags need to. Not every guest is prestigious,
Yeah, I don't think.
Some of them are dirty little scumbags.
Exactly.
Who have money.
I still think though, had we not liked it enough as another horror movie I watched this month, we just wouldn't talk about it at all. If it's too much more than hate, I don't think we really hated on this movie. I just objectively don't think it's for me, and I think it could have done better if it had a better story and a better direction. I think so.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm biased for the whodunit,
Me too.
Yeah, it's all. I'm good. I'm in.
Yeah.
Colonel Mustard with the candlestick
thing,
holder
huh?
in the kitchen. Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
but-
I'm down. Let's find out.
Exactly. Every single time.
I'm down for some. When are they going to do the crossover between the bodies girls and Hercule Poirot? You laughed in my face. And on that note, like, subscribe, comment. Press all the buttons. I forgot to tell you guys in the beginning. So if you made it this far, why not subscribe?
So you should definitely watch. Body. And then, definitely go check it out. Go check it out.
Oh man, you want another one on that? Did you shut down
No,
halfway?
I just wanted to leave a blank spot because I hope in post I could try to put a meme in there.
Oh, okay.
But I was like, I wanted to get your reaction. I wanted to get your reaction.
Bye.